And this is the astrological forecast for October 2023. What I want to start off by doing is looking at what's not happening, okay? To get rid of 60% of it. Neptune is retrograde in Pisces, not affecting that many people. No major aspects, transits, or influences from Neptune. Of course, Neptune is affecting a number of people, especially certain people born in Pisces, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and with ongoing fatigue, weariness, and confusion. But this is 1 to 2% of the people. Nothing changes here. This will continue like this through to January, February of next year. Saturn is retrograde in Pisces. Standing still now is going to start moving forward in early November. But particularly now standing still at 1 and 0 degrees of Pisces. So everybody born at the very start of Pisces, Sagittarius, Virgo or Gemini, Saturn is hitting your sun strongly now. So this is not a time of growth and expansion. Instead, it's a time of weeding, pruning, streamlining and clearing the decks so that when the future starts to come in from early November onwards, it can do so without negotiating old baggage. Jupiter is retrograde in early mid-Taurus, moving backwards, going to continue moving backwards for a few more months yet till the end of the year, and not really having that significant an effect, certainly over the coming month. Venus is going to move shortly from Leo, where it's been for a very long time, into Virgo. This will happen around the 9th of October, and I don't really attribute that that much influence. Mercury, which is currently cleared its retrograde shadow, or clearing as we speak, and is now in late Virgo, is accelerating rapidly. Mercury will move out of Virgo into Libra on the 5th of October. It will then spend about 15 days in Libra, rocketing, really picking up speed, conjuncting the Sun around the 23rd, 24th, and it will move into Scorpio on the 22nd of October. So it will conjunct the Sun about the 21st. Right. There is a minor partial eclipse of the full moon in Taurus on the 28th of October, 5 degrees of Taurus, but we will not see the moon's disk occluded. Instead, there may be a slight discoloration of the moon on one side. It's not a big eclipse. But this then brings me to look at Pluto, Uranus, Mars and the Sun, the main actors during October of this year. Let's start with one of the two really big ones. On the 14th of October, this month, 2023, there will be a total eclipse of the Sun. This will happen over the North American region. The time of this will be the exactness will be at 1756, and the eclipse will be at its strongest at 1801. That's UK time. So we're looking 12:56, 1 p.m. New York, and 9:56, 10 a.m. in the West Coast. Should be quite a spectacular sight for many of you in America. The moon is going to be further away from the Earth than it normally is. So as it passes across the face of the Sun, it will not obscure the whole Sun. We will see a ring of fire around the Sun, around the moon. So 95% of the Sun will be blocked out, but there'll be the ring of fire. It should be quite spectacular. At first I thought, okay, it's just another solar eclipse. And then I looked at it and I thought, wait a minute, that eclipse is going to be in conjunct Uranus. The eclipse is taking place at 21 degrees of Libra, and on that date of the eclipse, Uranus will be at 22 degrees of Taurus. So there's a 1 degree in conjunction from the Sun and the Moon to Uranus. This suggests to me that there's going to be some significant changes around that time, and for reasons I've yet to come to, and that eclipse is a time of not suspicion, not danger or challenge, but caution, and radical changes should not be taken during that eclipse. And this is one of those eclipses that I think is going to last a long time. I suspect that the influence of this eclipse, that any actions, decisions taken around that eclipse will probably take up to 6 months to germinate. And it could be that it won't be until March, April of next year that we see final outcomes from this eclipse. But anybody born with planets at 20, 21, 22 degrees of Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn, this eclipse is going to hit you. And with the inconjunction to Uranus, an inconjunction, it's not a major aspect. It's an itch you can't scratch. It's a niggle. It's a frustration. It's where the words are compromise and adjustment. Thing is, Uranus doesn't do compromise or adjustment. Uranus does big change. So it's going to be like two bits of sandpaper going up against each other, and something's going to give. I don't think it's going to be massive. It's not going to be a metaphorical earthquake or volcano. But when coupled with what else is going on just before that eclipse, which I've yet to come to, it's a big one. So let's look at what else is going on. Pluto will stop going retrograde on the 10th of October. No big deal. You think that happens every year? Yeah, it does. Let's bring Mars into the equation. Mars is currently in Libra, a sign it doesn't really like being in, because it rules the opposite sign of Aries. Mars will leave Libra and move into Scorpio. This will occur on the 12th of October. But just before it does that, Mars in the sky will square Pluto in the sky. This will happen between, if I give a few degrees of orb influence, so this will happen between the 5th and the 11th of October. Just as Pluto goes retrograde, and just before a total eclipse of the Sun in conjunct Uranus. Mars square Pluto, Mars coming from Libra, square Pluto in Capricorn, the sign of world government and world leaders. A Mars square Pluto aspect is one of the most difficult in astrology. It deals with subversive, behind-the-scenes movements, and there's something incisive here, like a javelin, an arrow, a dart, a dagger. And I can't help but feel that there's going to be some type of development in that second week of October where certain individuals are going to come very much under the microscope in a way that is very challenging to their consistency. That's a nice way to put it, yes. This isn't going to affect most of us as individuals. It isn't going to affect corporates, governments, things like that. It's individuals in positions of power. So if there's any of these people out there who are born in the last 3 or 4 days of Capricorn, Cancer, Aries, Libra, I'd be saying to them, watch your back. Now, normally I'd qualify that by saying, don't be suspicious, do be cautious. But at the moment, it's a bit more than just caution. There is a risk here. So we have Mars square Pluto, and the exactness of this will be on the 9th of October, 8th, 9th, followed the next day by Pluto standing still and stop going retrograde, starting to move forward, followed 3 days later by the Sun and Moon conjunction with an eclipse of the Sun in conjunct Uranus. This points altogether to incisive action leading to quite significant radical change over a short period of time. 6th to the 14th, second week of October. So collectively, I suggest we individually hold our breaths and refrain from taking any type of action which could be misconstrued as opposition or challenging. Because if people feel threatened at that time, they're going to overreact. But there will be people who will not listen to astrology, who will then go and take specific actions with the long-term repercussions, especially as it's on an eclipse, could last many months down the line. It is a pinpoint. It is the pimple on top of the boil. Yes, we have Mercury moving into Scorpio later in the month. But this month, it's the first 5 or 6 days, and the period from the 14th of October onwards, it's fine. But that second week of October, it really is. It's like a zit that suddenly comes up. And I should be watching the news headlines with interest, and I do advise caution to individuals not to make any type of incisive, impulsive, direct action at that time. It could go horribly wrong. Apart from that, it's not a bad month. But this is just one of those little weird times where things could suddenly get a little bit naughty. So count to 10. Apart from that, it's a good month. So have a good time. Catch you later. Bye. Oh, one last thing. Just before all this stuff kicks off, I'm doing that big weekend in South London in Croydon, where I'm teaching a lot of astrology over a 2-day period. There are still 10 to 15 places left. So if anybody wants to come along, just drop me a line. Steve@stevejudd.co. Take care now. Bye.